Suspense! And also,
Breaking Bad is the greatest show ever.
what is suspense? That space between something happening and then waiting for something to happen again. Suspense is easy to build visually because you have all the visual cues there for the audience to go, oh, this very calm moment is about to turn bad or suspenseful. Skip this to, I don't know, this timeline as we are about to explore a masterful scene of Breaking Bad that shows suspense in the utmost suspenseful manner. In this particular episode, these two characters have been very well established. Obviously, the most recognizable guy is Jesse, who's been since episode 1, the main character. And this is the very opening of this episode. Opens up with a cheerful song, some dude making some tea. Juxtaposition is one of the easiest ways for a TV show or a movie to show two things at once. Something nice is happening on screen, while behind the facade of what's happening, something bad is brewing. This is very easy for Breaking Bad because obviously you know two things already right off the bat of this particular scene. Number one, this man, Gale, is very bad. And number two, right before this opening credit, the last episode had Walter call Jesse and tell him he has to kill Gale in order for Gus not to kill Walter. So the scene opens up with some jaunty music. Gale looks completely harmless because he is, technically. Making some tea, comfortable at home, mood lighting that's soft, and then all of a sudden somebody at the door. Suspense here is very straightforward. You have a gun, you have somebody crying holding that gun in your face, and you're kind of not the main character. Gale doesn't know that, we know that, and yet when Jesse's holding the gun to him, we have this air of will he, won't he. We also know that he kind of has to. So the suspense is still there. We're worried for Gale. This scene just builds up on itself and its own suspense really nicely. Not only does Gale plead with Jesse, he offers him money, but when he sees that look in his eye, he knows that no amount of money is going to change the fact that he's about to pull the trigger. So this is Suspense 101. Won't he, will he? And when he does, there's no relief. There's no satisfying ending to it. You get your results, but it's not what you hope for. But not all suspense has to be a literal loaded gun. Take example, Jurassic Park. The OG Jurassic Park, which technically is the only Jurassic Park movie that exists because the other ones really suck. This scene has two figurative loaded guns. And it also has two literal wounded children. The suspense here is pretty easy to determine as well. Are the things with teeth that are hungry going to make the children their lunch? And unlike Breaking Bad, this is very black and white. Where before it was emotional suspense and we weren't sure what was going to happen, in this physical suspense, we don't know how the kids are going to escape necessarily. And yes, as a Spielberg movie, he's not going to let the two cute little blonde kids bite it. But just because they're not going to die doesn't mean that the suspense is any less. These two Velociraptors are an epitome of suspense in the physical form. They're slow and they build up the scene just as slowly. They limber around the kitchen. They try and find the kids. The kids try and outrun them, but they can't because they're hurt. So the suspense is building is not if they're going to get them, but when they're going to get them. The kids eventually outsmart the stupid dinosaurs. Trust me, I'm glad they didn't get eaten either. That would have been incredibly anticlimactic. But still, the fact that Maud and Judy are out for some blood and they're super hungry and they just can't decide on which kid to eat first and then if they want to eat anything else in the kitchen because they're at a theme park, so clearly all the food is like fried and probably smells super delicious and they really want it, but they also haven't had any meat in like 100 million years, so they're just like, should we go for the blonde girl first or should we go for the little bratty boy with the broken leg? I can totally smell his blood. And the two kids pretty much the entire time are, oh no, 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 no. And the audience is there with them. We're all also going, oh no, 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 no. Be it that you just don't want to see the children get eaten, but they've been through some tough times throughout the movie already at this point. This kind of suspense is going to be a nice payoff when they do escape, because they've outsmarted their smoking guns. They deserve the ending because they locked one of the dumb dinosaurs in the freezer, and then the other one, they just gave him a headache. Whatever. So the suspense here is also won't they, will they survive, but it's also building up to the narrative of how they're going to get out. For Gale, there was no escape. Once that gun got pulled out, that was it for him. In these two scenes, you can clearly see the suspense happening. It's unfolding before your eyes. A visual narrative is vastly different than a written narrative. So how do you take suspense, something that you see slowly build up in the physical sense, and translate that to the word? And today, I have a very special treat for you guys. Our one and only What Now that I roped into this, and he's generously donated some of his vocal cords into reading one of my suspenseful, spooky stories. Enjoy.
Carter hovered over her, as if he could hide this exchange from the crowd ambling around them. Even as he shifted uncomfortably from side to side, his dark eyes never strayed from her shuffling hands or the purse perched in the crook of her arm as she counted. 13. 14. He licked his lips once, twice. If anyone bothered to look up from their own bustle, they couldn't see what the old crone was tallying anyway. Tissues, tokens for the turnstile, little gold foil-wrapped pieces of goddamn butterscotch. He stole looks around the marble-tiled station like some junkie waiting for his next fix. Carter knew onlookers must think he was some hustler, her poor bastard of a grandson, no doubt down on his luck. No surprise there. More than half the city was. But to meet his dear old grandmama like this, sniffing about for a few bucks to get by, pathetic. 27? 20, the woman muttered. 8, 28, no! His hushed scream slid down into her silver hair. One would think he was trying to become her shadow as he inched nearer. That's 29. You counted that one already. The old woman studied her bag, taking inventory. He was right. She adjusted her hold, her thin eyebrows drawn tight. She recounted. Then, this makes it 29. Her sunspot-kissed fingers shuffled again. Then, 30. This is 31, and finally 32. 32. The man let out a slow breath as she finally pulled her hand from the depths of her purse. Looped around her bony fingers were two thinly coiled purple satin rope strings, a plump velvet sack attached to the other end. Carter's fingers cupped it into his palm. The velvet fabric shifted like a breathing thing in his hand. The open mouth of the purse beckoned him to peek inside. The contents, like so many fine pieces of glass rolling against each other, were light in his grasp. The slightest shift of his trembling hand made the dry, blood-stained teeth inside sound like insects hissing riddles to one another across the darkness. "There we go," she said proudly. "All 32 teeth accounted for and ready for the client." Carter couldn't suppress the shudder that ran up his arm. This is what it felt like to hold a full set of adult human teeth in one's palm. Just like last time. "I absolutely hate that we have to drag you into this side of the family business." The old woman lifted her withered hand to caress Carter's cheek. "You know that, right?" "I know, Nana." He didn't have time for this. He stepped away from her touch. He had to catch the 6:45 p.m. southbound train if he were to make this unholy delivery on time. "Love you," she chirped out to his retreating back. It felt wrong to reply, so he didn't. Anyone still watching must have thought him uncaring, cold, a no-good mooch. It didn't matter. He had a train to catch. They were waiting.
Brava, my dear. Brava. Yeah. Or is it?